Now then, all, Ben here back on the Rad Music Chat channel. Hope you're all doing well. Happy New Year to you. This is the first video of 2026. We are back with episode number 10 in the series that I call Songs of My Life. Now, Songs of My Life is a series where we take a music lover just like you, just like me. We send them 20 questions. Each of those questions is answered by a song. We get them to choose the 5 that speaks to them the most, bring them on the channel, and we have a chat about what each song means to them, go off on a few tangents, tell some stories, and that's the most fun part. So, episode 10 is with a gentleman called Rob Brewer. I'm really honored that Rob decided to accept my invite on. Rob, from 1990 to 2005, was a guitar player in one of my favorite bands, genuinely still are one of my favorite bands, have been for a long time, Unwritten Law. Unwritten Law were a punk rock stroke hard rock band formed in San Diego, California. And yeah, they're still going strong, but Rob was arguably part of their kind of, they came up and through their heyday. So yeah, Rob was a really cool guest, really nice guy, and chose some awesome songs. I gave him 6 because, hey, it's my show, and if I can't do that, then who can, right? So Rob nowadays still plays guitar a lot. He isn't so much in a band. He's just lays down his guitar chops for friends, bands, and things like that now and again for fun. He still resides in California, enjoys walking the pooch on the beach and hanging with his wife and his kids. And yeah, it's a great episode. So let's get into it. So yeah, I'm on the line with Mr. Rob Brewer, who's talking to me from California right now. How are you doing, Rob?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Awesome, thank you. Awesome. So for any of the uninitiated, Rob was in one of my favorite bands. They still are. But how long were you in Unwritten Law?
From 1990 until 2005, so 15 years.
Yeah, good shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been doing some stuff, all the things that you sent me where you've been putting things, helping out friends, bands and laying down leads and stuff like that. I'm going to put all that down in the description anyway, so people can check it out. So, but really appreciate you joining.
Yeah.
And it's episode 10. So, yeah, a great way to celebrate 10 episodes. So, if you're
Thanks for
ready,
having me.
no, thank you. What I was going to say, I normally the first thing I ask before we get into the questions is I normally ask people, when I sent you the 20, did the ones you wanted to answer leap out, or could you have done them all and you had to sort of rein it in, or were they kind of really easy to go, yep, that one, yep, that one?
Uh, Most of them are pretty easy. I find that when people ask me like my favorite like song or artist, like it's very difficult to narrow down,
Of
those
course.
kind of questions. There's just it's not a competition, obviously, music and it's so diverse. So I mean, I answered the ones that I thought I had the most definitive answers for, I guess is the best way
Yep.
to put it.
Superb.
Yeah.
And great choices. A couple of songs that are actually really, um, close to me as well. So if you're ready, we'll go for it.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cool. Right. So you chose number 3, which was a song that makes you long for summer. And you chose Don Henley, The Boys of Summer. Tell us about your relationship with that song.
Well, the first thing I thought about when you asked me that and I read that is my wife and I met when I was home after we did our third self-titled album. I spent the summer in Seattle. I came home and I actually met my wife, and she was living in Pacific Beach, down in San Diego area.
Right.
And we started hanging out, and then when I would come home, I started staying with her, and then we ended up living 3 years down there together, and then we got married at the Catamaran Hotel in Pacific Beach. And then we lived there up until from about 97 or 98 till 2002. And then we bought a house up here in the suburbs. So
Right.
when we left Pacific Beach, we didn't really go back down for a while, and then we had our son, and then we remember going back down to Pacific Beach at the end of the summer, and when we had our son, and just the whole realization that our lives had changed from what they were when we were younger and living at the beach and everything. And then the summer was over. We're taking our son and we're going back to the suburbs. And I don't know. I remember hearing that song on the way out of Pacific Beach that day. And I was like, oh man, this song.
Yeah.
And it's just always reminded me of that kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. And it's funny because it's seen as such a summer song, but it's actually like, lyrically it's about kind of what's going to happen when, the summer, fall's coming in and it's not so nice and that,
yeah, and it's kind of a song about being sad that the summer's over, nobody
Exactly.
on the beach. And
That's it.
it's funny because I read after the fact that Tom Petty's guitarist actually wrote that song for Tom Petty.
Oh.
And he played it for Tom, and Tom passed on the song. And the guitar player from, I'm at a loss for his name, Mike something. The guitar player from Tom Petty, he spoke to David Geffen, I think it was, and David Geffen said, hey, Don Henley's looking for music for a solo record that he's doing for Geffen Records. He's like, maybe you should play the song for him. And so he went over to his house and he said, Don Henley typically, from all accounts, isn't the nicest guy to deal with in some instances I've heard and I've read. Yeah. And so when Tom's guitarist got over to his house, he said Don sat there with his arms crossed and he played him the song and he was expressionless. And then he said, play it again. And he played it again. And then he asked him if he could change a certain part of it. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, yeah, I can change it, and then he ended up going with the song. And that was one of his biggest hits. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I love stories like that.
Yeah, I love stories like that as well. To be honest with you, I class that as one of my sort of favorite songs, period. But I'll be honest with you, I really love the Atari's version. I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
It was awesome. That was there was some guys in the 90s that did these punk compilations called Before You Were Punk. And that was, the Atari submitted that version of that song they were cover songs of 80s tunes, basically.
Yeah.
So a bunch of our friends had done that, especially the first one. I think there was a couple versions of that, but I know Blink-182 did Dancing With Yourself, and we did Adam Ant's Goody Two Shoes for that compilation, and we had the guys from Buck-09, the horn section, do the horns.
Right.
So that was cool, and that was the Atari song that was on that same album.
Right. Yeah, like you say, I've heard story. Well, Don Henley has quite openly said that he hates the Atari's version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he hates the fact that they've changed, sort of Deadhead sticker to, they changed it to sort of Black Flag sticker on a Cadillac, and he despises that as well. But hey,
and you think that people, when they cover your stuff, that it'd be an honor for you, to have somebody care enough to actually redo one of your tunes. But that's just how I would look at it.
Yeah, 100%. But there you go. He's a difficult chap, shall we say? So okay, no, that's great. Number 7 on the list. You chose. I think this question's making its debut. No one's chosen this in the 9 previous episodes. So number 7, you said a song that makes you sad, which is "Everybody Here Wants You" by Jeff Buckley. So tell us why that. First of all, why that song makes you sad.
Well, I had never heard of Jeff Buckley when I was living in Seattle when we were doing the self-titled Unwritten Law record. We had this band house, and we had a assortment of people come through there in 3 months. We were hanging out with the Deftones every day because they were also recording Around the Fur at that same time.
Wow.
And we would go downtown into these clubs, and we'd hang out with the Deftones and a whole group of people we met. And then we'd come back to our house. We had a hot tub and like a big property, a band house that came with the studio.
Cool.
So Incubus came into town, and we knew them from San Diego, and we were on the same independent label with them and played a bunch of shows prior to that. So we went to their show in Seattle, and then we took as many people as we could and came back to the house and had a little party. And one of the people at the house was crying, and it was this girl from Italy.
Right.
And I didn't know who she was, and I said, "What's the matter?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just really sad because Jeff Buckley has passed away." And I didn't know who that was. And I said, "I don't know who that is." And she's like, "Oh, he's the most amazing voice."
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I guess he was a lot bigger in Europe than he was in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on his way when he passed away to actually recording what was going to be this breakthrough huge record, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And all we ended up with was what were the demos for My Sweetheart the Drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he went to record, and the very first night he was in Nashville, he decided to swim in the river and he drowned.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I hear that song, and it's such an amazing song, and it's on the only thing they had was the demo tapes that they had done in pre-production going into Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they had left of Jeff Buckley. And so every time I hear that, it just makes me sad, because it makes you wonder how big of a career Jeff Buckley would have had with an amazing voice and, talent that he had. So,
Yeah.
it's not the song per se, it's just the whole scenario around the song and, his passing untimely. I don't think I think his body turned up like 8 miles downriver like a week later,
Shit. Yeah. Yeah.
just from currents. So sad.
Yeah. So it's sad about like what could have been, basically, is
Yes,
what, yeah.
absolutely.
Right. Okay.
That's why I chose that one. But I love the
Yeah.
song. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost got like almost like a sort of loungier, jazzier feel than what was on what you hear on Grace, I feel.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
So moving on, number 11 you chose, which was a song that makes you want to drive fast. So you chose Master of Puppets, which, yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, it's self-explanatory. Are you a big Metallica fan, or I mean, what's the?
I don't really believe, in my opinion, that they did much. I'm not a huge fan of their work after and Justice for All, the album that came after Master of Puppets. I wasn't even a huge fan of all the songs on Injustice. But when Master of Puppets came out, I was 16 years old. It was before I was in the punk band, and I listened to a lot of metal because I play guitar. And when I first started listening to punk, some of the guitars, let's be honest, some of the Black Flags and of the worlds, and some of the guitars weren't. It wasn't the most stellar of guitar playing or technical.
No.
So I got into the metal stuff sort of simultaneously, and I could recognize some of the best guitar playing was on the metal side. And when that album came out, it was just, I think it shocked everybody's senses with how heavy it was and how good the record was from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And then I went to see them, and it was when they still had Cliff Burton was still alive, and they were open for Ozzy.
Wow.
So Ozzy was still touring for the Bark at the Moon tour, I think it was, or shortly thereafter.
Ultimate Sin was
maybe it was Ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1986 because I still have the ticket stub, and I was 16, and I went and saw that, and I remember Ozzy didn't even strike the drum kit or anything. They just put a curtain down, and Metallica stood right in the front, and they just sat there and just banged their head and just went through their whole set, like 9 songs of Fury.
Yeah.
And that was one of the tunes, and I was like, this is amazing. And then the album, of course, was great.
Yeah.
Huge fan. And then unfortunately, just a few months after that, Cliff was killed in that bus crash in Europe.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But that song, man, still to this day, when you want to get fired up, that song will do it. So
yeah. It's that album, Master of Puppets, is, I think, one of the only things that the US has put into. They've put it in some sort of cultural time capsule or something like that, and it's one of the only recorded musical works of a certain, contemporary ones they've put like in some kind of capsule to be like, this is a culturally iconic record, And,
yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah,
It's weird because for me, the guitar sound, there was only them, what they were doing Metallica wise, maybe Megadeth, you could say, because Dave Mustaine was in Metallica before that, and also Scott Ian, Stormtroopers of Death.
yeah,
Those are the guys that were just sort of crunching the guitar like that at that
yeah,
time with a really heavy, clean, chunk
yeah,
sound, and there was
yeah.
nothing like that, and it really just stuck out to me as something awesome, and I think it still holds up.
Oh, it still holds up, but people don't realize because of the now the abundance of metal bands that have that kind of scooped crunch tone. They don't realize that at that time that was like you said, it just blew people's heads off. They were like, "What
Yeah,
is
it
this?"
sort of it was new, the tube amps with the real heavy crunch and the clean compression, like there wasn't a lot of stuff like that prior to that. So,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
jumps out.
awesome choice. I'm a huge Metallica fan, and yeah, so that was when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I mean, that song is going to make you. It's probably not the most sensible song to maybe be on the freeway on, I guess, or something. So
Well, I mean, I think it's about, doing methamphetamine too, which is I also wouldn't recommend. So, you know,
yeah, fair enough. Okay, yeah. Public service announcement. That's great.
but
Yeah,
but it was the mid '80s, and that kind of stuff was circulating. So
of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay. So moving on was you then chose number 17, which was a song that reminds you of your mum or your dad or your parents. And you chose if you could read my mind, love by Gordon Lightfoot.
And I will never be set free.
Does it remind you of your folks or one of your folks or
specifically my mom. So
okay?
my mom and dad were born in the '40s. But my mom was really into the '70s, the Carpenters and
Yeah,
Tom Jones. And my dad, his taste was a little bit more jazzy and folk, Kingston Trio and, Ella Fitzgerald and that kind of stuff. So that
right.
stuff didn't speak to me as much as the actual. I was born in 1970. So I have an early memory of, being 2 and 3 years old and sort of crawling around on the floor. My mom had this, the furniture that had the turntable on the top with the built-in
Yes,
speakers and everything. She had
yes,
one of those in the entryway of the house, and she used to play records. And she would play the Gordon Lightfoot album and early Fleetwood Mac stuff like Rumors and things like that. And it just stuck out to me as every time I hear Gordon Lightfoot, it just reminds me of my mom. So
yeah,
and
yeah.
my parents are still alive; they're very old, but
Wow,
yeah, they got rid of that record player, and it really upset me because I thought I wanted to keep it, and I guess it was in the way.
dude. Do you know how much those are worth now? Like the genuine ones, it's silly money.
Yeah, and it was
It's
like antique furniture now. So,
yeah, yeah.
and then
That's
my kids actually got me for Father's Day last year. They got me another turntable, and
right.
I haven't had one in many years, and
Yeah,
I forgot how great they are.
yeah,
Because it forces you to hear songs that you forgot were on records. And
exactly.
and I've been out collecting vinyl again, and it's man, $30 for a record now is crazy.
Right,
You know?
vinyl is
Yeah,
not cheap. It's not a good addiction to get, man, but yeah, yeah. I love the way that kids now are really getting into vinyl because of the fact that the artwork on the classic albums, the older, was created to be that size. It wasn't
yeah,
created to be that size, you know?
right. And then also the lyrics are in there.
Yeah,
There's photos and other things that people put in there. So,
yeah,
very very cool and a blast from the past. I still have some records from when I was younger,
right.
but unfortunately got rid of a lot of them over the years. I mean, I'm 55 now, so
Yeah,
you know I had
yeah.
tons of records back in the '80s, but you know,
We've all been through periods of time where we think shifting them to make space is a good idea, or being someone that was a fellow musician as well, trying to make it. Sometimes necessity to eat was like shifting records, right?
right. Yeah, could be,
So,
yes.
number 16, which was a song that changed your life or formed your musical taste. So, Back in Black, AC/DC. tell us about that.
So I just gotten an electric guitar. I was probably 12 years old. I had started playing an acoustic a little bit when I was like 11, and it was uninspiring to me. Nylon strings, But then I was able to get an electric, and it had a little muff fuzz pedal, and I had a Gibson 50-watt Gibson little combo amp, and I was starting to make sounds and everything. And then I was at the roller rink. I'll never forget it. I was roller skating, and I was in 6th grade, and that song "Back in Black" came on in the roller rink. And I remember sitting there, and I was in the snack bar, and I was listening to it, and I was like, this is literally the heaviest riff I think I've ever heard before. The dun, 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 and I was like, I've never heard a song like with such a heavy basis for a riff or a part before. And it just sort of got my attention and grabbed it. And I think from then on, I think I was just hooked on anything that was, guitar oriented or heavy like that. Yeah. So I really remember that being a turning point for me, as far as like wanting to play electric, and wanting to get some distortion and, the power of it, so.
I love moments like that you remember so far on into life. Like, you have that epiphany and you still remember that moment. Just again, it's another one of those moments where you're like, what is that? And you have to know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, music's a great time capsule also, because what do we think when we think of songs? It reminds us of a specific moment in our lives, and this one, obviously I remember I was at the roller rink, because it hit me, and you're right. You remember those moments, and it's, it sticks with you,
I think a lot of us guys who are mainly sort of into, rock music generally, probably there's certain songs and bands where you have that trajectory. Like, you get into Guns N' Roses, maybe Def Leppard, and then maybe Iron Maiden or something. And then I remember just hearing that riff to Seek and Destroy and being like, what is this?
What else did that for me was when I got my hands on Def Leppard High and Dry.
Yeah.
Before Pyromania and all that, they sounded a lot to me like AC/DC, on that particular record.
Yes.
But the guitar playing, man, to this day, I still play those songs. I still play High and Dry in my living room, like, note for note, and I just love those sounds, of that style of rock,
That is, there's a lot that's kind of seen as like the real Def Leppard fans' favorite album, High and Dry, because it's kind of in that sweet spot before they got kind of too overproduced, like Pyromania and Hysteria.
Right. And then I saw them on Pyromania when they came here the first time. They toured with Billy Squier.
Oh, wow.
And I was like 13. I was living in Phoenix, Arizona, and I went to the show, and Pyromania had just come out, and Photograph was the single, and it was on the radio all over the place. Yeah. So they were already starting to blow up, but they opened for Billy Squier, and Billy Squier had that record that I think it was Emotions in Motion or something.
Right.
And that thing was a monster. It had like 6 radio hits on it, and he was the headliner. But as soon as Def Leppard played that show, they were already back with their own headlining tour within like 3 months.
Yeah.
And the drummer had 2 arms, and it was it was really heavy, and they were still playing some of the stuff from High and Dry back then. Yeah. So I saw them both of those shows, back then, and it was, man, just awesome.
So you've already sort of dropped 2 things that rock and metal fans are absolutely like going to hate you for. And that is the fact, first one, that Aussie tour with Metallica supporting in '86. I mean, that's a legendary tour. And then you saw Def Leppard like pre-Rick Allen losing his arms as well, which you losing his arm, which is that's awesome, because about the time that Photograph blew up, I mean, no one knew what was coming next with Hysteria. I mean, they were already massive with Pyromania.
I remember being so angry when I heard Hysteria, like, oh man, this is just not Def Leppard that I know, but I understand why they did it. I mean, I think it's noble when you look back and think that they could have just easily replaced Rick Allen, and they decided that their friendship and their musicianship together meant more to them than replacing him as a drummer. So, I respect it now, especially.
Yeah.
And I've lightened up when it comes to that record. And it's funny because my wife and my daughter just went and saw them down in with Journey and with somebody else
Oh wow.
last summer, I think it was. And
Right.
we know somebody that works at the ballpark where they played, where the Padres play, the baseball team, that they had the big concert, and this girl that we know was able to walk my sister-in-law and my wife and my daughter right down to the very front row. So they were right next to the stage. And so they were seeing all these guys, and even though they were much older, it was still they really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
And it was cool. I was glad that they got to see that too, because I saw it, back in their like probably 1983, 84, So
And I tell you,
cool.
honest, Joe Elliott and the rest of them, they still, their vocals are still great.
Yeah, and that's really
Yeah.
cool. It means, I just saw Chicago actually not that long ago, and there's only 3 of those guys left.
Right.
And they were amazing. It was unbelievable, like how well and how professional of musicians they still are. 50 years into touring. I'm gonna go see Foreigner too with the San Diego Philharmonic here in March.
Man.
And,
wow, they're doing an orchestra show. Wow.
They're doing one, and I guess the singer is still making appearances with the band.
Yes.
Even though he's not the main singer, the guy who's actually singing for them right now is from Poway. I went to high school with him.
Oh, is he?
And him and his brother, I've known about these guys. It's Luis and Hector Maldonado, and they've been in a ton of bands. I think they were playing with Train before this.
Right. Yeah.
And now I heard he's that. One of them, I think it's Luis, is singing for Foreigner. So that's a trip, Like, I don't really know those guys personally, but they're my age, and they were at the same high school as I was, and I knew they were musicians. I've known of them for years.
That's crazy.
It's just crazy. I was telling my wife that. So we're gonna go. We got some really close-up seats, and we're gonna go. It's at this amazing venue that's down on San Diego, outdoors on San Diego Bay, called the Rady Shell. And it's got a big stage. It looks like a shell, and it's got the most integrated lighting systems in it. LEDs and everything. It's really cool. I've seen a few shows.
Perfect for a Foreigner show, right?
Yeah, and it's just amazing to get down there and on the bay. In the evenings in San Diego. It's beautiful down there. So,
because Lou Gramm does still come out, I think, and does like an odd show, doesn't he? An odd song or something.
I think that's what my wife was reading that somewhere. Yeah. So hopefully happens. Hopefully that happens when they come here.
Yeah, no, I love the first 4 Foreigner records. I go through phases maybe once every couple of years where I'll literally just listen to them for a few weeks. Those first 5 Foreigner records, actually, Agent Provocateur is a great record as well. So, that's cool.
I had those on vinyl, man, in the early '80s.
Wow. Bet you'd love to get them back now.
Oh man, I had so many good records that I'd love to have now, but
because you very kindly agreed to come on. Obviously, some people, a couple of people have had sort of a 6th question, and I love this answer so much. So, you'd said you answered number 18, which was a song that you love from the soundtrack to a film or a TV show. So, Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me.
Don't you forget about me.
From The Breakfast Club.
Absolutely. And I went to see The Breakfast Club in the theater when I was in 6th grade, I think it was. Right. And I remember just, when you see the film, it's sort of a celebration of youth, at the time. And I remember coming out of the theater, and you hear the song play at the end of the movie, and the one guy just kind of holds his hand up. Yeah. And that's how you felt when you left the theater after seeing the movie for the first time, So I always think of that when I hear that song.
Yeah, no, and it's perfect, isn't it? It's almost like that song was written for the movie, but I don't think it was. It's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if it was or not, but I just saw Andrew McCarthy did a sort of Brat Pack documentary, and some of those guys spoke with him from back in the day in the Brat Pack, and he spoke with Emilio Estevez, and he was trying to get the guy throughout the whole documentary that played, I think it was Judd Nelson, is his name.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was trying to get him to join him, and then at the very end of the documentary, he just says, "Oh, I was unable to ever get a hold of him, or he never called me back," or whatever. But yeah, they mentioned the Breakfast Club in that documentary also, so that's
So
cool.
was Rob Lowe there? I'll need to look out this documentary because I love
I
all
think he
this.
spoke. I think he spoke to Rob Lowe also. Yeah, Molly
Okay.
Ringwald.
Oh,
Spoke to
yeah.
Demi Moore.
Yeah. I love those John Hughes movies. And the fact that he creates, he's created this whole universe of all his movies. Sherma, Illinois, doesn't exist, but he's created this,
Yeah.
Thing that like Weird Science is Weird Science is my favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
And of course, Anthony Michael Hall is obviously, the dweeb in
Yep.
Breakfast Club,
16 Candles.
Yeah, 16 Candles, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pretty in Pink, of course, and just all those John Hughes movies are great. But
Yeah, I was like, how old are you?
I am 47, 48 this year.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a little older, but when those movies all came out, I was like 12, 13 years old, so
Yeah.
it's just big fan of those films, and that was the stuff out at the time, and those were the actors.
So just if people are interested, Rob, like where can people sort of hit you up on Instagram or socials or whatever? Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just out there living my life, man. I'm not really promoting anything per se,
No. Yeah.
My kids just turned 21 and 18, so I've got a little more free time nowadays, but I spend a lot of time with my dog. And I still play. Yeah, I sit in my living room and play guitar 3 days a week, probably.
Okay, that's great.
Just sort of looking for the next project. But I'm on Instagram. I'm the real Rob Brewer on Instagram or on Facebook. So,
Cool.
because I am the real Rob Brewer. There's many others, but I'm the real one. Okay.
Yeah, of course. No dispute. And so really appreciate you coming on. Those were 6 awesome choices.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, and always good to catch up with anybody that listened to the band, and just grateful that the music's still out there in the digital world, and that people still are interested in talking about any of it. And
yeah, man.
always willing to make myself available to reminisce about that kind of thing. There's still stuff out there, which is amazing to me. If you would have asked me 25 years ago if the band would still have any relevance, I would have probably said no. So it's just
it's one of those bands that means a lot to people. And what I love about it is all the different eras mean a lot to people as well. It's never the same records that come up when you speak to people. It also depends when they got into the band, so
yeah. We kind of had a more of a punk rock element when we first started.
Yeah.
The first 2 records especially, and then it sort of rounded out into more of a well-balanced sort of rock sound, I think, over the years,
Yeah.
But a lot of those records are still very fast, though. When I go to play along sometimes and try to remember some of the old songs, I'm like, man, we were just playing so fast,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So.
Just want to thank you for your time and chatting to you and catching up, and obviously the reason for coming on, all the songs and that is just a side thing to get people to go off on tangents and tell stories and stuff, which is great.
Love it, man.
Really appreciate it. So
no problem. And if you ever get out here, man, you got to hit me up, and we'll definitely go out and have a beer, and we'll catch up.
That'd be great. No, that's cool. That's the plan before I'm 50.
Awesome,
so all right.
Yeah, let me know, man. I'm here.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Take care.
All right, man. Cheers, brother.
Man. Bye.